Hey there, you guys. Welcome back again to Guardian of the Woods. This is Zach. And before I get going on tonight's story, I want to invite you once again to our monthly giveaways. We still have the rest of October. The link is below. Sign up. You could be my winner. I have gotten my mug. I think it's really cool. I have like four other Bigfoot mugs. This one tops it. I really love it. So please go ahead, join me with it. Sign up below. And whoever wins, I'll get that out to you that following week. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get going on tonight's story. Tonight's story is called Bigfoot Stalks Old Miner's Cabin near Lake Tahoe, California. I have a few good stories of me encountering a massive Bigfoot throughout my life, but this encounter here is the very first one. The very one that sparked my interest that has had me on an ongoing search for this hairy legend for years to come. I've been on many lone and paid for Bigfoot hunts throughout the years. Well, actually 25 years to be exact. But this is the one that gave birth to a huge love and passion for me for years to come. But back in 1985, I and four other buddies of mine were inseparable. Summertime was here, and we were trying to get into as much trouble as we possibly could for the 1980s. We lived in the small town of Myers, California. It was only about 7 miles from South Lake Tahoe, which was pretty cool. And mind you, this was a couple years before we would be riding our bikes down to the lake just to hang out and meet pretty girls. This one particular summer was spent exploring surrounding woods, which to us was always a good time. Staying off the normal path that everyone else would be on, we decided to blaze our own. This one afternoon, we had thought we had struck gold when we came across an old little miner's cabin that looked like it has been abandoned for no less than 80 years. It wasn't in the best shape, but with a little teamwork and a little elbow grease, we'd have this in good shape in no time. At least good enough to be our home away from home and a perfect meeting spot for years to come. It took us no more than a week to get this to where we'd wanted it. After that, we met out there every day for 2 weeks. We had all come to the conclusion that there's no better way to make this into a better escape from our normal, boring, everyday life than to have a sleepover at our newfound freedom cabin. After getting permission from our parents, of course, we grabbed our sleepover bags, chips, hot dogs, and of course sodas. Just enough for one night of good times. After packing up, we jumped onto our 10-speed bikes and headed out. About halfway there, we had to abandon our bikes and hike up the rest of the trail. Once getting there, we set up a couple rocks for a campfire and grabbed some sticks so we can go ahead and cook some hot dogs and marshmallows for our evening meal. My friend Dan's dad gave him his 22 just in case we came across some aggressive bears or maybe some curious mountain lions, which they're always poking around. After a good evening of cooking our hot dogs and marshmallows, we decided to go to sleep. Sometime during that night, I was awakened what sounded like some deep huffing. A huffing sound that woke me. I woke Dan up and we both listened to something slowly working its way around the outside of the cabin. Then and there I woke up the other two. At that time we all sat and listened. Whatever it was outside poking around on the old rotted boards, it seemed like it was slowly working its way on the boards to pry them off. We could hear it shuffling around. Again, it kept prying and prying away at those boards, but with no luck. To me, it seemed like 30 minutes before it stopped. At that point, the creature started huffing louder and louder, as if though it was struggling to pry the boards off the side of the cabin. That's when I personally thought, crap, we're dealing with a much larger bear than normal. It seemed mainly to be working on the backside of the cabin, the backside facing the mountainside. As we sat there in shock and horror, suddenly, finally, it got quiet. We had hoped then that it had just given up, got frustrated, and gave up. Nope, that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case, at least that night. About a minute later, we had heard some scratching sound, now on the left side of the cabin though. We had thought, oh God, it's still here. And not only that, it's moving to another part of the cabin. This thing wasn't giving up. Finally, it working its way around to the front door of the cabin, which is only about 5 foot high. Dan grabbed his dad's shotgun and said, Randy, open the door. I I didn't want to. I didn't want to open the door. But I got the guts, and I did anyways. What we were expecting to see was just another bear, mountain lion, hell, even a raccoon. I grabbed the handle tightly, took in a couple deep breaths, and as fast as I could, I ripped the door wide open. Whatever it was outside was standing right in front of the opening of the door. But because it was dark, all we could see were these huge, hairy legs and feet. Dan immediately fired a shot off. Right then and there, it let out a loud scream, spun around, and took off like a bat out of hell into the woods. Needless to say, we were all scared to death. All we heard were 2 or 3 heavy thuds, and then everything went quiet. Nothing. We tried to sleep, but all we did was end up huddled up close together in the middle of the cabin floor for the rest of the night. Finally, the next morning came around, and we went out as a group and searched the surrounding area. There was a torn up place where the thing had spun around, and 3 or 4 indentations in the ground where it took off. Oddly enough, there was no blood on the ground anywhere. We looked. We had to hit something. How could you miss that? But we didn't find anything anywhere. My friend Billy had finally found one track, and one track only, that would tell us exactly what it was that was prying away at the boards of the cabin that night. At the time in my life, I wasn't interested in casting any footprints, collecting any hair, or sticking around to see if this thing was going to come back anytime soon. All we were interested in was getting the heck out of there and getting home safely. So we packed up our stuff and never went back, at least for the rest of that summer. That right there was the beginning and what would become an obsession for me. Since then, I've been on many of dozens of outings looking for this thing in the great Pacific Northwest. I've also had 4 other encounters with this creature known as Bigfoot, but this is the one you've asked for, my friend. Let me know if you're interested in the other 4. I'd be more than happy to provide them for you. Keep in touch. Randy.